I wonder how my house would smell if I had 40,000 of these. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Liz Colby, and I'm with Practical Farmers of Iowa. Accompanying me behind the scenes and providing technical support is Phoebe Eichhorst. We will shortly be broadcasting live with Jordan Clausen of Grade A Gardens in Johnston, who is sprinting to the finish line of the 2020 garlic harvest. We'll get some live demos in the field and also see how he hangs and cures his garlic for storage. But first, like an old movie, we start with the credits at the top. Phoebe, let's see those sponsors. We'd like to thank our major sponsors for their support of our virtual field day season. Their support helps make this virtual field day season possible, which features over 60 virtual field days. And guess what? You can attend all of them free of charge. Thank you, sponsors. Practical Farmers of Iowa is a farmer-led nonprofit based out of Ames. We specialize in farmer-to-farmer knowledge sharing and farmer-led research with a mission to equip farmers to build resilient farms and communities. All are welcome at PFI, and we invite you to learn more about our organization and access our vast collection of resources at practicalfarmers.org. This virtual field day will run until 1:05 p.m. Central Time. If you have questions for Jordan during the field day, please type them into the comment box on Facebook, and I'll do my best to relay your questions to Jordan during our discussion. And at the conclusion of this event, please give us your feedback via the online survey, and Phoebe will post that link in the comment box. Virtual events are getting more familiar to us this summer, but we're still new. And with your help, we're excited to learn and improve throughout the summer. All right, Phoebe, let's go live to Jordan. All right, Jordan,
Hello.
we got you on camera.
Yes,
So,
I'm live, loud and clear, hopefully. Welcome everybody. 2 thumbs up, because if you're at this far in your garlic growing life, you have made it to harvest. As you can see behind me, most of this field, if you go back and watch the first 2 episodes, this was our purple stripe and Carpathian field, Rocambole, but most has been harvested. We saved 1 bed to kind of show you how we harvest here. And I'm kind of lying, normally have like 2 or 3 people behind me helping, but they just went to lunch. So walking your field this time of year, I mean, most of you should probably be pretty close to getting your garlic out, but as I kind of said in the previous videos, you're really looking for about 4 green leaves left. And if you can see this plant, you can tell there was a leaf here, there was a leaf here. This guy is on his way out. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4 green leaves left. And I'll kind of come in and show you. Is that a good view? Can you see the bulb there?
We can.
Okay, so this wrapper here was at one time a leaf, but it's now gone from the bulb. And then you can see this wrapper that was a leaf is this actual wrapper around the bulb. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I actually have 5 good wrappers before the cloves would be exposed. And why that's important is because let's say you're going to sell this garlic. Again, not everybody peels it, but you're going to harvest it. But let's say when it comes time to selling, you're going to peel some of these layers off to get it to a clean bulb. This variety is chestnut red, so it'll be a purple stripe once it's cured. But now you can see I'm a clean bulb ready to market, but I only have 1, 2, 3, 4. So I kind of lost that 5th leaf. But let's say I dry it like this, and then it comes time to sell it because I get dirt on here. Well, then you're going to peel another layer off, and then you have 1, 2, 3 layers of protection. So it's kind of important to have, I think it helps with storage, to have at least 3 good storage wrappers around your bulb. So that's kind of what to look for before you start harvesting. We kind of pan the field, and we kind of look for that 5th leaf consistently to kind of start yellowing and 4 green leaves left. And not every single one of these is, ideal, but you're just looking for, a pretty good, consistent pattern like that. So I have already undercut this, and I'm going to do a little bit, just kind of show you how we do it. I've never just stopped in the middle of the field and kept going, so we'll see. My tractor is a 41 horsepower John Deere. It is 4-wheel drive. And behind it, I have an undercutter. I would like a little more horsepower, like a 50 or 60 would probably be ideal. Because sometimes if we have weeds, I can get kind of held up. Sometimes this year it's been going like butter, but if we have weeds, it can get kind of held up. But normally I have 2 people on either side of this toolbar, and what they're doing is telling me I'm good. You know, they're kind of back here checking to make sure I'm underneath the bulb. The thing I hate the most is when sometimes the undercutter will lift up and I'm just hitting heads. So every 5 feet or so, they're kind of right behind me, pulling up heads and just yelling, "Good, you're good." Or if I've had a few too many cocktails and I'm steering to the left or the right, they'll yell north, or they're going to yell south, and that's going to tell me I need to move one direction to the other, because really this undercutter doesn't give me too much leeway on either side. You know, I've got a pretty thin margin where I have, you know, 3 or 4 inches on either side to try to keep that tractor straight and get them undercutted. So I'll fire it up. I'll go 10 feet or so and then kind of get you an idea what it looks like. But just know that when we do it, I think it's always safe to have, you know, 2 people back here just kind of spot checking you.
Well, Jordan, I'm sorry. We can hear you. It's too bad Phoebe and I can't strap on with the tripod and help you out.
This damn virtual thing, I tell you what. All right, I will fire it up here. I should throttle down quick and tell you, I found it's better to go slow and steady. This might be an obvious, but it's better to go slow and steady than it is to just try to fly through here. So I kind of like just kind of creeping. And again, I don't know how it's going to do. Momentum's my friend, because when I stop like this, that's when I tend to get stuck, but I'll see how it does. So as you can see, I'm just creeping along, trying to keep it straight. And that undercutter is just going right underneath the pole, hopefully. I hope I'm not slicing them all. Okay, so you can use your imagination. I get kind of paranoid when I'm by myself. But as you can imagine, okay, so I was a good 2-3 inches underneath the bulb, which is about perfect. So imagine I just smoked this whole row. Normally people are following us right when we're doing this. So we kind of start at the first dug, and I'll kind of show you. We usually have 2 people to a bed, like we're doing scapes, and we kind of just share it. So at this point, the garlic's coming up quite easy. And all we're doing, I'll come closer. All we're doing is, Connor says it's like I'm shaking hands with each bowl, but all I'm trying to do, and I undercut it this morning, so it's a little hard, but all I'm trying to do is just we work hard to build the soil, so I don't really want to take a lot of that to the drying shed. So I try to get them dry like that, and then I just kind of give them a rub like that. You don't spend a whole lot of time. So if I were to do this like full speed, I'm just kind of getting the soil off. And
Jordan, you want to move a little deeper in that row so we can see you pulling them? There you go.
How's that? Okay.
That's great.
So I'm just going down the row. I'm giving just a quick hand swipe, getting that dirt clod off the bottom, and I'm piling them pretty much just as far as I can reach. And we just kind of bounce back and forth. One guy obviously does the outside, and then we just kind of share the middles. But as you can see, it's, you know, I'm putting very little effort into pulling these out of the ground. We've had years where it's been incredibly wet at harvest, and you're pulling this up with just a mud ball, which, I mean, you can just hold the head and just kind of wring it out like that, but it's not ideal. So once we get them, you know, once we do about half the bed, I don't like these bulbs sitting in the sun, especially this week was, you know, it was hotter than hell. It was like 100 degrees out and sunny, and these bulbs can actually sunburn pretty quick. So imagine this bed's been picked up. We have them in piles here. A garden cart would work well here. Just for the video, I'll kind of show you. We take them to the shade right away. We set up our farmer's market tent like halfway in the field. And it's important to get them right into the shade. Some growers will tell you to leave them in the sun for hours and let them cure that way. I would say that is not good advice. You want to get them into the shade as fast as possible. We've had some, even in 20 minutes, they'll kind of turn like a green color, and that really affects taste, flavor, and appearance. So I'm going to walk you over and just kind of show you what we do once they're in the shade. So far, it's been a great harvest. The purple stripes are a little smaller garlic, but we've had really, really, really nice porcelains this year. I don't think I've ever grown them bigger. They're nice. But.
And Jordan, there's a question in the comment box that I'm just going to reiterate for them that you planted the garlic in the fall. Which date in the fall about did you plant these? Oh, Jordan, you're muted there.
Can you still hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. Most of these garlic were planted in the month of October and a little into November. I took the label out already, but on the label, I always write the variety, the generation it is grown for me. Just over time, I like to see kind of how they've changed, if at all, and the date, just to see if there's any pattern with earlier planted versus later planted. So yeah, most of these were in the ground mid to late October. I always tell people if you want to blind plant, Halloween would be a great day. Just if you didn't want to like focus on a date, you just wanted to plant on a date. Halloween's a good date, and if you wanted a blind harvest, 4th of July, if you follow those two things, you would be safe as far as garlic planting. So this is a puny pile. I just kind of pulled a few bulbs just to kind of show you examples. But now imagine, you know, we'll usually harvest half of a field like this, and we'll have mountains of garlic in here. So then we all move to the shade afternoon. Normally we harvest all morning, get it in here, take a lunch, then we'll come back, and in the heat of the day, we'll kind of do this. So once, I'm going to try not to knock this over. Once they are all in here, we sort them for seed or food. And we do that so it makes it easier once it comes time to sell the garlic. We know, you know, things aren't kind of mixed up. So the pile on the right is all seed garlic, bigger stuff. And then the pile on the left is kind of smaller stuff. And we'd call that food garlic, or what we'll sell at farmer's market. But we're kind of tight on space. Here in a little bit, we'll show you how we dry it. So we do chop the tops off, and I'll kind of show you how we do that. But first thing, I got to give a plug to Office Depot. These are the best rubber bands. If you can see that, number 64, size 64. John, my mentor, he's been through a bunch of bands, but these work great for how we do it. So number 64 is pretty important to get that size. I've tried the small.
Office Depot, unofficial sponsor.
Yeah, I better see my royalty check. Okay, can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so can you see my hands here?
We can.
Okay, so these bigger guys here, we bundle all of the seed garlic in like 6 or 8. So I tell people, I mean, you can count it all you want, but the idea is to just know that there are fewer bigger bulbs into a bunch. So you can kind of see these are nice sized garlic. I'm going to keep them for seed. So I want to keep them separate. So what we do now is we've got them kind of bundled in my hands. I chop off a lot of that green, and I don't necessarily want to say this is the only way to do it. And this is actually probably, if I grew a smaller crop, I would not be doing this. There's a lot of growers that believe that leaving the full plant on continues to feed the bulb. But we are just tight on space. So this is kind of what we have to do to cram things in there. But once the bulk of this green is still off, then I take my, can you still see? Okay. Then I take my number 64. I go 1, 2, 3, and that holds it just like that, nice bundle. And then we kind of put them behind us, and we keep them separated behind us. seed and feed. So how that looks like when we're actually going, you know, we got a pile of garlic and then we're just kind of sitting, chopping off the green and banding it. And sometimes, you know, if you're waiting on the next person, you know, you can pull crap off like that. But really the idea is to just get a lot of that green off for us. And, you know, there's no dirt or anything on these. So once you get into the shed, you don't have a lot of excess dirt and you can promote good airflow. So that's what the next, literally, if we had a pile of garlic here, the next 5 or 6 hours would be, it's just going through and doing that. Now, other ways people dry, I know Jill, I think at Blue Gate dries with baling twine. So you might get 10 or 12 in here and you might put a little loop around the garlic and then hang it from a barn, full plant like that. And that's, I mean, again, that's probably how I'd recommend doing it for a smaller scale grower who's not tight on space. But John, my mentor, used to do this. He would, in order to keep all that green, he would band it over like this and then
like a ponytail.
Yes, but if you can guess, this promotes mold. When the garlic's wet and this is still pretty green, high moisture, this molded real nasty. So then we both kind of started going to just chopping that off. And many of you may know Chris Blanchard, Purple Pitchfork, RIP Chris, but he, I believe, I've been told, would flail mow in the field. He would flail mow the garlic. So he would chop all the tops off and then he would undercut, leaving with just a little nub like that. And he would bring it into his curing shed like this, which, I mean, I wouldn't recommend that. I think there is some truth to the bowl being fed by the green, but there's plenty of different ways you can do it. But so imagine all of this has been chopped, all of this has been banded. Then we take it out to our shed. And before I have you cue that video, one more thing I will mention that is good practice. All of these tops is good practice to get them out of the field. So if you can see, we're working on a big chart and we make an incredibly big mess. But at the end, we roll the big thing up and then we drag it. And a lot of people would say burn it, but we just drag it to our woods and just dump it in the back. So it's important to get that out of the field, just so you don't promote disease. You know, good rotation and getting any of that debris out of the field, I think is good practice. So if you want, Liz or Phoebe, you could cue that video and then I will, I'll watch it.
Jordan, let me ask you one question quick before Phoebe hits play. There was a question about sourcing garlic and wondering if you had seed garlic available for sale or where you would recommend ordering from, and if it's already too late to order for this fall.
So like the old saying goes, I don't like to really count I guess I don't know the same, count your eggs before they hatch. I wanted to get the crop out of the ground before I sold any. And so we're gonna go live with garlic sales August 1st. And we should have plenty this year. I mean, I'd say overall our ratio of seed to food is about 80-20, which is really good for us. Great. So greatagardens.com, and then we have a little shop on there, and we'll have all the varieties listed. They're on there now, so you can kind of read about them, but they're not live. So August 1st, we're gonna go live. But another great source, and I tell a lot of people if they want the best behind us, would be Fillery Garlic Farm. They're out in Washington State and they have tons and tons of different varieties. So I can send you a link, but it's FILAREE farm.
Oh, I got it. Got it linked. Got it linked and tagged in the comment box. All right, Phoebe, let's play that video.
Okay, so if you can still hear me, now is the van of garlic. So they're all, and I should mention that we don't have a drying shed on our farm. We take them to a friend's place. So that's a big hang up for us, but they're all banded and they're loaded in our van. I guess this is still under the tent. So you can see all these have been the tops chopped, and they're ready to get loaded into the van. And Tony, my buddy who works with me here, he sorts them in the van. If they're seed, they go side to side, and if they're food, they go front to back. So, okay, now we're out at the shed, and we've built a frame out of like 2x4s and 4x4s, and we've got fencing there. And as you can see, I wrapped that fence around the top and just looped it a couple times, and then kind of tugged on it to make sure. And the first thing I always like to do is get that label hung up so I know what variety it is. So the variety I'm working on there is called Spinokia. It's a soft neck we got on our honeymoon. So now that, and I left those long there in that picture, but now that I'm just sticking 2 or so of the garlic through the fence, and they're kind of hanging just on the fence like that. So you get a lot of vertical space. And these fences, I believe, are 20 plus years old. So here's the garlic shed. It's a little janky, but you guys get the idea. You know, starting to get filled up. And we hang them about, I don't know, 15 inches apart. And you
Is that
can
about
see
an 8-inch spacing in that fence?
I think
And
they're
every
like,
other?
I think they're like 6x4s or so. Yeah, we kind of pack them. I mean, the idea is to let them breathe. Again, we're tight on space, so we kind of pack them in there. But if you see there at the very end, that fan is very important. So we have 3 or 4 fans going different directions in the shed, and we try to just kind of create a little tornado in there. They're all kind of facing at different spots of the shed, but the idea is to promote very, very, very good airflow, because that's going to help cure your bulbs.
Steve,
So,
you want to go ahead and rewind the video a little bit so we can get another look inside the shed?
yeah, I should have slowed down there, sorry, but you can kind of
Oh, that's
tell.
all right.
And a lot of people ask me, hey, I see some of those bulbs that are very peeled and clean. They're to my right there. Those I just do for my yearbook photo every year. I just peel them up and make them pretty, but you do not have to do that. Most growers would say just leave them dirty and get them hanging. Another thing to mention, a lot of people would say, oh, you should hang them upside down. I don't know if there's actually been real studies on it, but another grower told me that he got 1/16 increase in yield by hanging them the way they are in the picture there, because gravity pulls moisture out from that green and still continues to feed that bulb, rather than vice versa, the bulb going to the tip. So hang them down just like you see in the video there.
All right.
But as you can see, yeah, they're bundled right there. I mean, you can see our size. We've had really, really strong garlic this year. And if you're going to build something like this, I would say make sure it's reinforced, like screw it to your building, or, like my second year farming, I had that thing filled up and it wasn't really reinforced. And I was hanging my last bundle and the whole thing collapsed on me. And this is a true story, but I could have probably died, what probably wasn't the safest thing in the world. Garlic farmer dies like garlic, but yes, reinforce it, make it strong. And we use 2x2s across the top. That's kind of what we use to drape that fence over. So you have a little bit of an upfront investment, but I mean, all this stuff has been, still trucking for the 10 years I've grown garlic, and, the 20 years my mentor's been drying garlic. He's been doing it the same way. So.
And so for your food garlic, how long will you do you let that cure as well, or do you take it straight to market and just clean up the bulbs a little bit?
Well, great question. And that's a good segue, I guess, into how we make them pretty. I'm going to come back in here. So I'm going to chop these just because I have them bundled, but imagine now these have been drying 2 or 3 weeks and it's ready to sell. I guess to answer your question, Liz, you can really sell them at any time now, but just be sure to tell customers that they're not cured and they're only going to last a couple months. They're not going to last, 5 or 6 months like a cured garlic would. But can you see that there? Okay, so now this is our best friend, and most of you are going to laugh, but that is a toothbrush. And once these papers get, 3 weeks down the road, they're going to get real nice and papery. This is a really quick tool to not only brush your teeth, but to clean your garlic. So imagine this bundle's 3 weeks old. They peel kind of hard now, but imagine it's 3 weeks old and it's time to sell. I like there's different grades out there and everybody's got their own way to do it, but I like about, 3/4 of an inch to 1/2 inch of neck. And I see a lot of people that do this. I don't know why. I don't care for an angle cut. I like kind of just a nice straight cut right across the bulb. So once we get it chopped, and usually when I have my pruners in my hand, I go ahead and take the roots off too.
Little haircut. All right.
Yes. So, I mean, this is going above and beyond, but we like to make it marketable. But normally when this bulb is dry, you can just come in here and that toothbrush will just clean it right up and they just peel right off. But since this has just been harvested, it's a little harder, but rather than peeling that, you can just get that toothbrush in there. And don't think we toothbrush every single one. I mean, we do a lot, but we don't, right now we call it the postage stamp stage because this really just wants to stick on there. But if you can imagine in 3 weeks, once this has really been dry, this toothbrush helps you just get right through them and clean them up. So, all right, then, that's a pretty presentable bulb. I'd peel some of that if I was being OCD, but that's ready for market. So we do about 300 or 500 every week like this for our market we're doing. And we'd sell a size. We do sizes about like that as food for $1, or we do 6 bulbs for $5. And then we sell seed garlic by the pound. We're at $16 a pound this year. So we've got a lot that are a lot bigger than this. This is just, but we say anything over about 2.5 inches is considered seed. But just to give you a rule of thumb, food garlic is about this size, seed garlic this or much bigger, if you can see that. So it's kind of nice separating them in the field and then separating them in the shed, because I know I won't even look at my seed garlic bulbs. I'm just going to go, whenever I'm selling at market, I'm just going to go right to the food garlic side and just start chopping them over there. So, but yeah, about 3 weeks is ideal to cure them. A good trick to know if your garlic's cured is you chop it where you want to chop it, and then you're going to squeeze that neck. And I don't know, can you see that juice kind of coming out of the top there?
Yeah, we can. And I'm squeezing the one I have here, and there's a little bit. Yep.
So that's a great sign to know if your garlic's cured. So 2-3 weeks down the road, if you want to know if you're dry, chop your bulb right where you want to chop it and squeeze, and see, I'm getting juice there. And if there's still any juice, your garlic's not cured. Leave it, leave it hang. And I guess I should talk long-term storage. If you're wanting to long-term store it, I found that leave it hanging, unless it's in a really hot building, but leave it hanging until a hard freeze is coming. I found the more we handle these bundles, my first few years, I was so particular. As soon as it was cured, like 3 weeks, I'd go and I'd chop them all up and I'd make them all pretty, and then I'd throw them in my basement thinking that was, properly cured. But I found that they don't like to be messed with once they're on the curing rack. So leave them there until really, mid to late November. And then it's just less handling too. So, and then once they're, a chance of a hard freeze is coming, then we chop them all down and we leave them dirty and we put them in like a net onion bag. We do 25-pound bags. And then that's when you'd bring them into a garage that's attached, or a proper root cellar, or the basement. But I found it's best to leave them hanging, don't touch them, sell them. Don't mess with them a whole lot until a hard freeze is going to come. But go
ahead.
I was going to say, as far as curing, airflow is your friend, and a dark space. So an old barn or a Morton building, whatever it is, but get that airflow going. Open the doors up and put a fan on your bulbs for a good 3 weeks.
And we've got a question about your pruners. What brand are they? Where'd you get them? Have
Well,
you cut
gosh,
your finger at all?
I wish I could answer that. I can try to put it on the comments later. My mom actually puts these in my stocking stuffer every year, but I think she just gets them on Amazon, but they're fantastic. They're really sharp. They last a while. We used to use a brand called OXO, Good Grips, and I don't have any of those on me right now, but OXO Good Grips are fantastic. That's what we always used to use, but we've really liked these. I used to buy the fancy Felco pruners, but I think these things are like $5 or $6. Don't quote me on that, but I don't know. You can probably find them on Amazon or something, but she always puts them in our stocking stuffer. But these are fantastic. I mean, you can really, I like, knowing that you can just get right through the roots and stem pretty quick. And they're pretty, sometimes you have to put a little grease in there, but they're pretty snappy.
And there's also a question about the rotation you use with your garlic.
Yes, so I think 3 years is the minimum you should do. You should never have garlic within the same spot within 3 years. I mean, a lot of growers up in the Northwest would say much longer than that, more like 7 years. But I always think it's good practice to try to get a cover crop down ahead of time. And then, plant your garlic in the fall. And then I guess I should talk about, I'll see if I can pan to the field. So once our harvest is done, we shallow till it just to kind of even it out. I found it's better to do it right when it gets so hot and dry that, okay.
Get your tripod set down and then we'll start again. It's a little choppy when you're walking.
Can you see it now?
I can see an empty field. Is that where you want to be?
Yeah, yep, sorry.
Okay, all right, go ahead. Go ahead.
So this field was all garlic, like you remember seeing in the last couple episodes, but we just kind of give it a shallow till just to incorporate the straw and break up some of those big clods that are left after harvest. If you don't do that and then we don't get any rain for a while, some of those big clods can get quite firm. So I found it's best to harvest and then kind of get your seed bed ready. And we like to seed this down to a cover crop. As soon as we see rain in the damn forecast, we're going to try to get it seeded down to a cover crop. We've liked buckwheat just because it doesn't take much moisture to germinate. But this year we're going to try to do a few other species along with it and maybe something that would overwinter within the mix, like winter rye or something. But yeah, it's important to get your garlic out. Try to keep as much debris out of the field as you can, garlic debris, and then get it covered back up into a cover crop.
Awesome. Well, Jordan, we got a few minutes left. Is there anything else we wanted to cover that I'm forgetting or that you haven't shown us yet?
I mean, I feel like we've gone kind of full circle. Really, the garlic is fairly easy to grow as long as you kind of do, the steps along the way. Keep your big bulbs for seed. Try to find big cloves, and keep it weeded. I think mulching it's important just to keep any winter killing from happening. But I know Ben Saunders at Wabi Sabi has put his on black plastic, and then he'll cover it with like a frost blanket, and that seemed to work very, very well for him. And I think it also sped up his harvest. He was out of the ground, I think, like 2 or 3 weeks ago. So
oh, wow.
The garlic kind of responds to that black plastic. But we've been trying different varieties to kind of stagger our harvest. This chestnut red we were working on this morning is a later maturing garlic. So it's nice to do different varieties just for variety is the spice of life, but it's also nice to do it for harvesting. If you did all one variety, you'd have it all ready at one time, which can be kind of taxing if you're growing a lot. So we've been thinking about maybe putting some on black plastic to get out early and market early, and then do the rest like we normally do it on with just regular straw mulch. But harvested on time. If these plants were completely brown, that would mean it's over mature. And a friend once told me that it's like an apple. If you pick it too early, it doesn't have much sweetness. It doesn't have much flavor. And it's kind of starchy and tannic. But if you pick an apple overripe, it's, you know, too sweet, it's too mushy, and it doesn't keep well. So I think garlic is pretty similar to an apple in that sense, that you kind of want to get it when it's mature, just like everything else. But yeah, it's a beautiful crop. It does so well in Iowa for pretty minimal effort, I would say, you know, and it stores well. And, you know, it's the heart and soul of all cooking, really. You know, people start with a lot of garlic. So,
and people you know anyway.
Yeah, good point. Good point. But yes,
no, it's true.
It's you know, it's kind of been our anchor the whole time we've been farming, and we've just found that, you know, people always love garlic. So, and it's good for you.
Well, I want to ask you, there are two more questions that kept filling up the chat box, so I just want to ask these to you. What else do you grow during your 3-year rotation? If you just want to give a brief shout out to your other crops.
Yeah, so like if we were going to overwinter rye, so this field would be buckwheat and then rye, maybe, or a multi-species, and then rye. We'd let the rye get, you know, fairly tall, work it under, and then we'd maybe follow a fall crop with that rye. So really it gets the fall this year off, it gets the spring off, and then we're back into it in the fall. And we'd like doing that, following like with a fall brassica next year. Some people would say that potatoes follow garlic fairly well. So if you wanted to seed down like oats or something that would winter kill, that field would be ready in the spring. That's worked well for John, my mentor, but we kind of like doing it, giving it a little break, and coming back to it with our fall brassica crop.
All right. And then I'm going to let you take one more question. Do you ever plant the bulblets from the garlic flower?
Good question. And you see a lot of people on the Facebook groups that do that. And it's a good way to really scale up a variety. I mean, those bubles or bulblets, you know, there's 20, 30 of them up top there. But for me, I love big garlic that's kind of easy to work with. And planting those, you really got to be on weeds because when they come out of the ground, they're just puny like a blade of grass. And usually your first year, you only get what's called a round. It's like one solid clove. And then the next year you would plant that out, and then you'd get a small head. So it's a 3-year process to plant the bubles, but it definitely can be done. We don't do it. Okay.
All right. Well, we are out of time for today. Phoebe, if you could bring up our closing slide. Jordan, thank you so much for letting us interrupt your harvest, actually, and see the farm in action. I know it's a busy time of year, and particularly a busy day because you have market tomorrow. So thank you so much. And all the folks on Facebook, thank you for attending our live event today. If you want to rewatch or share this video with your friends and colleagues, you can find the video of this event and many other videos from our other events on this PFI's Facebook page, our YouTube channel, and our website, which is practicalfarmers.org. And you can also sign up using that link that Phoebe put in the comment box to receive day of event reminders for our virtual field days this season. I promise you we won't use your email address for anything else and won't share it with anyone. And please take a few minutes and fill out that survey. We'll put your name in a drawing to win a PFI water bottle that will get mailed out to you if you're the winner. And again, thank you for joining. Thank you for our sponsors, official and unofficial. And Jordan, thank you, and pass our thanks along to Whitney. And until next time, everyone stay healthy and stay hydrated and enjoy the sunshine.
Thank you very much, Liz. I appreciate it.
You bet.